Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the February 9 meeting of the Oklahoma City Planning Commission. If you have not, I would encourage you to view our instructions for the conduct of the meeting on the back of our facing page of the agenda. If you have or would like to address the meeting today, we would appreciate if you could fill out one of the sign-in sheets and bring it to our clerk up here at the front. If you do address the commission, we'd appreciate if you would address the commission, not the person that you're opposing or in favor of, and keep your comments brief to the point. And if a point has already been made or addressed, we'd ask that you skip over that point and give us new information. We're always seeking new information. If you have any cell phones, pagers, etc., I don't think anybody carries a pager anymore, but if you do, if you're holding on, if you would please silence that at this time. And Russell, I guess we'll be ready to begin.
You ready to do the minutes?
Yeah. Approval of the minutes from January 26th. I need to abstain on that since I was not present. So, is there only 4 of us that were here? Okay, I guess we'll have to defer that to next meeting. Do we need a motion for that? Jimmy, can
Second.
Okay. Somebody make a motion? Jimmy seconded. Motion to defer the minutes to next meeting. Okay. All opposed? Cast your votes. Whoops. All right, and that'll be deferred to the next meeting.
Okay. On continuance requests, we have 4 uncontested requests for continuance. Item 13, which is SPUD 653, a request to continue until February the 23rd. Item 14 is CE 820, request to continue until March the 8th. Item 15 is SPUD 623, a request to continue until March the 22nd. And item 16, C 6319, a request to continue until March the 8th.
Is there anybody present to speak to us on any of the uncontested continuances, item 13 through 16? Commissioner?
Second.
Motion is second to continue items 13 through 16. Cast your votes. Those items are continued.
There are 2 new requests for continuance, item 5, C 6320, and item 11, SN 073, request to continue both of these until February the 23rd.
Move the new request.
Anybody present to speak to us today on items 5 or 11? Okay. Motion is second to continue items 5 and 11. Cast your votes. Those items are continued.
Any additional requests?
Pardon me? Oh, yeah. Any additional continuance requests from the audience, any of the applicants? All right. Moving into the public hearing section.
There is nothing on the consent docket today. On items requiring separate vote, item 1 is C 6330, which is a final plat of Premier Edition in Ward 3.
Commissioners, I'm not sure that the applicant is present for this. This is a final plat for a minor subdivision. I don't see anything particularly. Oh, you are here. Oh, well, come up.
My name is Steve Landes with Landry & Group, representing Premier Edition, or the Premier Hospitality Group. These 2 lots were actually originally brought to y'all before y'all, covering both 1 and 2 and the 1 and 2 of Premier 2 Edition back in 2008. The 2 lots are actually the properties that are currently a Staybridge Suites and a Holiday Inn Express that's actually located on the frontage of the river. Really what happened, we split them into 2 pieces at one time to do that Premier 2 Edition that was recently approved, and they wanted to go ahead and come back and actually request approval or basically go ahead and plat the first 2 lots. In the first place, all engineering and development actually is completed on these lots already and have been approved by city staff. I think there were 3 TEs, have no problems on any of those, and just request approval. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Commissioners, any questions? No one signed up on this.
So you're not tearing down the hotels or nothing?
No.
Okay.
I think they were constructed about 2 years ago, so
Yeah. Okay.
I think they're still in good shape.
Okay.
Motion to approve item number 1. Cast your votes. That item is approved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item 2 is C 5285. This is an extension of the preliminary plat of Raywood Manor in Ward 1.
Please give us your name and address, if you would, sir.
I'm Carl Sluter. I'm the developer builder. I live at 413 Gladstone Circle in Oklahoma.
All right, Mr. Schluter, tell us what you're here for today.
Sir, yeah, well, I was unaware, either my fault or whatever, that I need to file for an extension, and it did expire. So I'm here today trying to get a variance. I do agree with all the TEs. I will do those in compliance, and anything else that the council would like for me to do. But somehow I didn't get a notice or whatever, and all of a sudden it was told to me that I was out, and I'm trying to get it extended so I can go on.
Commissioners, nobody signed up. This is effectively an extension of a plat. We need to do a variance to TE number 2.
Move variance TE1.
One, excuse me. Motion and a second to approve the variance to TE number 1. Cast your votes. That's approved.
Move the application.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the application. Cast your votes. That's approved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Item 3 is SPUD 601. This is an application by Dean Dyes to rezone 10330 North Hudson Avenue from the R1 district to SPUD 601 in Ward 2.
Good afternoon, Dean.
Commissioners. Dean Dyes with Commercial Permits Express, here to represent the applicant. We came before the Planning Commission right at about a year ago, February of 2011, and thought we had this use that we're going to talk about here today covered at that time, but missed it somehow. And of course we went to get our building permit, and of course that sure enough held us up. So we're here today to add that additional use. All the other uses were approved back in 2011.
And any other changes?
No, sir, just that, adding that one use.
Just adding the one use?
Well, I'll take it back. We
I think
did
there was-
change the building height, I believe, from
Right.
18 to 20.
To 20 feet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Dyes? Nobody signed up for this application?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 3. Cast your votes. That's approved. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you, sir.
Item 4 is SPUD 654. This is an application by Jeffrey Sparks and Kevin Trim to rezone 3620 North Western Avenue from the R1 district to SPUD 654 in Ward 2.
Applicant present, come up, please.
Yes, sir. I'm Jeffrey Sparks.
Kevin Trim.
Okay, tell us about your application, if you would, please, ma'am. Or sir.
We've moved down to 3620 Northwestern, and we found out our zoning wasn't up to par for a commercial flower shop.
Right?
So we are here to get everything up to level with our application and have our flower shop going at 3620 Northwestern.
Okay?
We have been at 5225 Northwestern for approximately 40 years,
Right.
and we moved.
Right. Okay.
We've got a darling building.
All right. If you reviewed the staff report, you're all right with the technical evaluations?
Yes, sir.
Janice, do you have any comments on this? Were there a couple of changes on this, I think?
Is there anybody who wants to be heard on this? Anybody
Nope.
else who signed up?
Nobody signed up.
We've kind of talked through the little things that we want to nail down. They're going to keep the sign that's there,
Right.
which although it is technically a pole sign, it's original to the building, I think, and it has little placards out in front. It's very quaint, and I mean this is such an upgrade to the use of this particular property. It's hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine how it's not already zoned commercial, but since it's not, this is just something that's kind of being done for cleanup. And if there's nobody else that wants to be heard, I'll move approval.
Okay. Motion to approve item, and a second to approve item number 4. Cast your votes. You're approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 5 has been continued. Item 6 is C 6326. This is a final plat of Rockport, Section 4 in Ward 5.
Good afternoon. Tim Johnson with Johnson Associates, here with the applicant, Mr. Paul Odom.
As you recall, a couple weeks ago, we were before you, and we got hung up on TE number 4. And before Mr. Odom makes a presentation on that, I wanted to discuss the other TEs. TEs 1 through 7, with the exception of 4, we agreed to. And the TE number 3 is a request for a variance for the access, which we talked about last time as well. That was resolved through the double wide entry at Southwest 126th Street. That will be put in as part of, the remainder of that will be put in as part of Section 3 whenever it goes forward. And I think the big issue before was the additional requirement required by the Planning Commission to the staff to basically back up and add park requirements that are in the new subregs to this plat that's been in play since 2003. And so to that end, Mr. Odom would like to make some comments relative to TE number 4.
Before Mr. Odom comes up, do we have any questions of Tim on anything about the access, any other concern? Now, the access, Tim, you're putting, is that already built?
Yes, a portion of it is.
A portion of it?
Yeah. It doesn't serve all the way in the back. See where the solid lines are on Rockport Section 2?
Right.
Beryl Street is not completed all to Section 3 because Section 3 is not there. So
Oh.
that double wide entrance is there.
The double wide entrance off of Portland?
126th Street. Well, Portland and 126th Street.
Okay.
So that, at the time we did the preliminary plat, we met with the fire marshal's office, and that's how we agreed to resolve that, was to provide a double-loaded entrance for those back lots.
Okay. All right.
And I've talked to Mike Wilson since then and brought him up to speed with what was approved on the original preliminary plat.
All right. All right. Mr. Odom, you want to come up, please? State your name and...
My name is Paul Odom III, and I'm happy to give a little speech today. Won't be too long, though. Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, I've said this in the past, and I want to say it again. Before I even get into my little speech, I appreciate the very hard work that you do to make our city a better place. You do it very well. You do it out of your own free will and your own time. You're not paid for this. You used to not be paid. I guess that's still, you're still free.
That's exactly right.
And so, I appreciate that very much. I just want to say that doesn't affect how you're going to vote for me or against me, but I just want to state that because I've said it in the past. You do a lot to help our city and to make Oklahoma City a better place. In doing so, though, we all must be very, very careful of the long-term effects. It's kind of like medicine. Sometimes we don't know the long-term effect till it's too late. The side effects are sometimes worse than the disease, and we've all seen that through the years. And the same analogy may be similar to the park issue that I am dealing with here in Rockport. And parks are good, and they may be needed for some neighborhoods, but not all. That is often the case. One size does not fit all situations. Some neighborhoods, don't have a lot of children to utilize the parks. I have developed thousands and thousands of home sites in many different price ranges in Oklahoma City. And by and large, in most of my neighborhoods, and they do have many have common areas, the parks are not utilized, the common areas are not utilized to their fullest potential. And when you put infrastructure in, such as buildings, and you settle the HOAs, the homeowner associations, with large dollars in maintenance, insurance, etc., from now on. I've got an example I'd like to bring. I have a neighborhood called Rivendell, and I'm certain you all heard of Rivendell in the past. It has several large common areas, and I rarely see the children playing ball or anything in these areas. And I've kind of thought, why? why aren't my common areas used? And I've come to the conclusion, I've studied it, and it's a sad situation, but I think crime has prevented kids from being kids in today's society. You know, when I was a young person, and I'm probably older than everybody here, mostly. Nick, I'm not. But, you know, we
Thank you, Paul.
Kids could be kids. You know, we could get out and play, but it's not the way anymore. You know, parents are very fearful of the issues that happen. Now, let's take our case of Rockport. I have a very, very nice common area that's well maintained right next to the gazebo. Now, it's actually 2 lots. We haven't used those lots. But it's well maintained. I don't see children playing there. Now, I see the bus stop, the big gazebo that we built, that's utilized a few times a year for functions and usually for summer partying. But that area is not used. And the reality in this neighborhood, only about 25% of the residents have children that are under the age of 12. So the city ordinances asking me to put a 2.5-acre park in a neighborhood that is completed or final platted for 83% of the lots is like asking you to redo your home while it's under construction. At 82%, your home will be probably at the paint stage or maybe past the paint stage. So for the staff or for the city to ask me, okay, Paul, now it's time to do some remodel. It's like asking you to say, oh, well, the home is almost built, but the yard's not big enough in the back, folks. The laws have changed since then. Let's go ahead and do some remodel. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't require that. And you shouldn't require it in my case either. The 9 lots it takes to do this 2.5-acre park is over a cost of $500,000. That makes each lot cost over $10,000 more that's left. This is a deal killer in this neighborhood. We, as the city of Oklahoma City, and I put myself as a citizen of this city, a taxpayer, must be very careful that we do not drive businesses to other cities. We are and have always been in a competitive environment, and even more so today because all of our surrounding cities have very nice choices for people to live in. I would like the sales tax for the 43 lots in Rockport 4 to go to Oklahoma City, the $15 million that it generates in value, not to Moore, to Mustang, or Yukon or Norman. What does $15 million mean? It's over $1 million. Just sales tax initially for our city. Over $150,000 a year in property taxes. And that's the initial year, every year. And lots of that money goes to schools and other infrastructure. So it is a big issue. Also, dealing with Rockport, just immediately to the north is Mid-America Christian University. This is actually the institution I bought the land for Rockport. And they have very nice soccer fields with huge open spaces immediately north. And of course, I think Tim mentioned last time, you know, the park systems that are close, Early Wine Park and South Lakes Parks that are very close as well. We must be very cautious in placing burdens on development that in many cases are unwarranted, unneeded, and unwanted by our customers. I know without a doubt our goals are the same. But as I mentioned a few minutes ago, let's make certain that the side effects do not kill the patients. My family and I was surprised to actually do some analysis, and I was really surprised when I found out that my family and I have created hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of assets and ongoing tax base for the city over the last 77 years. Let us continue to do it for the next 77 years. Thank you very much.
Commissioners? Any questions for Mr. Odom?
I guess I'd like to say, I appreciate your kind remarks. If you had been here last time, you would have heard some kind remarks about you as well. I think everybody really appreciates the quality of development that you do, and we all are aware that, you know, you're very involved in the ongoing processes to improve the city of Oklahoma City. And I don't think that we're really talking about 2.5 acres here, although that is what the staff report says. As we were discussing it last time, we were all thinking something much lower than that, I think, realizing that it is onerous at this point to tag you with that much open space on such a tiny piece of an overall development. But I do think that, you know, the Planning Commission is very committed to the policy of having usable open space, usable recreational space. Things like how many children live in a neighborhood, of course, are subject to change over time. Whether people use the amenities they have also is something that's subject to change over time. We're wanting to really encourage people to get out and use their open space more, but they can't do that if they don't have it. So I really appreciate the thoughtfulness with which you plan your developments, but I do think that we're very committed to our policy and would like to find some way. I'm not sure that other members of the Planning Commission, I know I did not, was not aware that there are 2 lots currently there where the gazebo is that are just not developed, I gather. They're not officially open space, but they're simply undeveloped and therefore available. Perhaps that would be sufficient to satisfy the needs for recreational space. And since it's there with the gazebo, maybe that would make, you know, be a location that makes sense, if that's something that you would be willing to consider.
I appreciate that, but at this point, and that very well may happen, Ms. Powers, in the past, but I do not feel that this plat should be subject to new rules when it's 83% complete. So I take issue with that fact. But I appreciate your words, and I did listen to the tapes from the last meeting, and I appreciate the kind comments that came the direction of myself and my family.
Not to belabor the numbers, but the way I understand the development, there's 253 total lots. Is that right?
I think that's very close, yes, sir.
Is that right? And this portion is 43 lots, which is roughly 1/6. And then there's another portion, it looks to me, to the far east, which looks to be perhaps more substantial or larger than this particular developed. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That's 52 lots. That plat has already been approved.
So the plat for the far east has been approved?
Correct.
Okay.
Not developed, but it's been approved. We decided to do Section 4 in front of Section 3. Section 1, which is immediately to the north of Section 4, not to try to get everybody's confused on directions, is the same size of lot Section 4 will be.
Okay,
and so the market has changed the last few years, and lots have tended to be a little smaller, so I'm going to keep Section 3 like it is, in the same size of lots, but I want to do the Section 4 first.
So 3 has gone to final, the far east part, for lack of a better word, not to get confused.
Well, yes.
That's final and that's approved.
That's final. That's the reason there's 83% of the lots have already finalized out or completed.
Right. Now, okay, then your point with respect, Paul, and again, I understand your, I appreciate your spirit and your development and your historic track record with the city and this commission. Although I also understand your comment with respect of the Mid-America University, but we don't have any access to that absent going out of the neighborhood, going clear down to Portland,
right,
and then back over. And
correct.
Then the other parks are some distance away, and even at 25% of the people who live in the development of having children, that's still 60 some odd families with roughly 2.1 childs. That'd be 120 kids that may or may not have access to any usable amenity, if we're saying that it's only the children that use them. There's no trail system. There's a gazebo, and I understand the point that you're in. I appreciate that. But I agree with Commissioner Powers that there might be some consideration with respect of, while not 2.5, some point of less than that, a lot, something. I don't sense any movement here.
There's not on my end, there's not. Now, this was a brand-new plat, and this was done in 2003, yes, we'd be talking about it, but not after the fact. I think that is not proper business. To go back and try to say, oh, we're going to retroactive this, I think that's bad policy.
JJ?
Yeah, he meets the 2.5 acres of open space with the open space over on the east end of the plat. It's a 3/4 of an acre recreational area that we're talking about.
I'm sorry, say that again?
He meets he has way over 2.5
He has 2.5 acres from the...
He meets the 2.5 acres of open space. It's a 3/4 acre that's supposed to have some kind of
Developed as
recreational
amenities.
amenity on that.
Right. Tell us about your open space on the east, because I understand.
The east is, guys, do you show that there? There is a floodplain all the way to the east, and I actually walked down there a couple of days ago. We don't show anything about that. We do, anyway, it's all the way to the east.
We don't have
side.
much visibility of that.
Okay, you do have something you can see?
Well, I got.
There it is.
I know it's there.
Yeah, we got it now. Okay. Actually, I heard Chairman Yokel said last time he drove by, and it was back in the back, which it is,
Right.
and he couldn't get out to it.
Right.
I actually walked there a couple of days ago. Again, I've been there many times. There's a creek that runs through there, and that creek, I guess, is considered by the United States federal government to be a navigable waterway. Is that correct, Tim? Yeah, we're expecting to see barges go up and down there pretty soon. But that's the laws that we have. That's the silliness of what we deal with. And so anyway, you have to stay pretty well like it is. But I happened to walk down in there. The kids are using that quite a lot. You know, it's forts, it's woods, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And so they don't use the spot up in the front by the gazebo. That they go down to the creek and play, just like, and it's relatively safe down there. It's off the road. And so when we do that section, we're going to clean that up, make it it'll be a nice little area. Now, probably can't do much except for clean it up, take some trees down, open it up a little bit, but the kids are utilizing that, and that's a nice. It's about 7 acres, Tim, is that right? Yeah, it's a pretty big area. And the creek is only it's big. They see where the plat narrows down. That's the only place the really creek comes close. The creek is pretty well on the east property line, so there'll be several acres there that the kids can play in, and they're doing it already.
Now, as I look at the drawing that's in front of us, do you have a little walkway to get down to it?
There will be 2 walkways.
I couldn't see them from this drawing.
No, they're not shown, but they're 2 nice
shown
walkways.
on this?
Yeah.
So
They're on the plat.
you do have
Access.
You do have access.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because that was unclear to me as I looked at it.
Oh yeah, it's guaranteed.
Okay.
Guaranteed. And I said, I was surprised, there's 2 forts down there right now. And the kids have cleaned, it's a neat little place, just like when I was a kid, playing in the creek. Creeks are better than anything. You can have 10 sandboxes, and nobody's going to play in. But you dump a dump truck load of sand next to those sandboxes, they're going to go crazy playing that dump truck load of sand.
All right. Any questions, James?
I guess it's kind of been cleared up to me that we're not really talking about 2.5 acres of open space, but we're talking more about the 3/4 of an acre of recreational space, and what would that equate to? What, 2 to 3 lots? Is what? But you already have 2 lots that's already dedicated.
Right. That's what Commissioner Powers.
And are you keeping those lots as recreation? Can you keep those as recreation?
Well, I guess I could.
So then that would.
But I don't want to be forced to, because that's not the situation when I did this plat in 2003. The city is asking me to come back and redo some things and requiring me to do things differently now than in that point in time.
Okay.
And so now, if this was, again, starting out from the scratch, it's one different. This is a different issue. This is 8 years after the fact.
So, removing the factor that you're being forced to, how amenable are you to leaving those 2 lots as recreational spaces where the gazebo is?
Pardon me?
I said, not forcing you, but consider those lots for recreational space, but how amenable would you be to allowing those 2 lots to be recreational space where the gazebos are?
Well, I don't know quite. I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. I'm very sorry.
Well, we're looking for some recreational space. You got a gazebo on 2 lots, and you say you don't want to be forced to make those lots recreational.
Right.
So I'm saying, remove the force, and are you amenable to making it recreational space?
Well, I think that would
without your arm being twisted up your back.
Not at this time, no, sir. No, sir. But to be quite honest with you, Commissioner Williams, it's very, very possible that that will happen, because those lots have been available for sale, and I've not sold them. And I've talked with the homeowners association about that issue. Yes, but with a gun to my head, I don't think that's correct.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The problem I'm having with this, I'm committed to open space. But when is a deal not a deal? We approved this whole preliminary plat back in 2003. No open space in it. We said that was okay. We didn't have the requirements we have today. We've had 2 final plats come along for other pieces of this, and we approved those. Now we
Actually, 3. 3.
Sorry, 3. Now we get down to the final piece, and we're saying, oh, wait a minute. We've changed our current rules, so now we're going to go back and undo what we did on the original preliminary, which covered this, and the vast majority of this whole addition that's been already final platted, and saying Old King's X. What prevents us from then coming back later on any plat and saying, well, we didn't like the thing in the first place, we had our fingers crossed? You know, when is a deal not a deal? This is the last piece of a development, and all of a sudden, I know the staff report says 2.5 acres, that's over 1/6 of this space, and that JJ's explained that's not required, but it's just not right. Where is our credibility? Where is our honor?
And that's exactly my feeling.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think Mr. Odom has put a question to us very squarely. It is our policy that plats that come in subsequent to changes in our policy conform to the policy. He's asking us if we really mean that, and I think either we do or we don't.
Okay. Well, I don't know that we need to continue to debate it. Anybody else got anything else? Jimmy? Buck? Okay, well then, let's get to the motion. Here, somebody?
Well, I'll make a motion to move the variance to TE3.
The variance for TE3 was approved at the previous meeting.
Oh, it was? Okay, so we don't need to, the variance was approved at the previous meeting, so we can delete TE3 from this application, or do we need to leave it here?
You can leave it in there, but it was approved at the last meeting.
Okay, all right, so then we're down to the application.
I have no problem with it. I'll move approval of the application.
What about TE number 4?
I was going to say, with the
deletion of TE4?
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the deletion of it is what I would move, so.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve the application with the deletion of TE number 4. Right? All right, cast your vote. And that is approved.
Thank you very much.
Do we need to? Wait a minute. Do we need to? Should we call everybody to?
Check your votes again.
Let's check your votes again on this, Paul, to be sure, I think, just to make sure. All right? So I'm voting here. That's right. Right, so because I'm voting in Yokel's space, 5-2. Everybody clear? Still the same result, but that's the vote.
Item 7 is SPUD 640, an application by Ernest Turnage to rezone 8701 South Santa Fe from R1 to SPUD 640 in Ward 5.
I'm Ernest Turnage.
And I'm Rocky Turnage. We're with Turnage Construction.
Okay. Tell us about your application, please, sir.
Well, we would like to change the zoning on a piece of property on South Santa Fe to a SPUD so that we can possibly build a mini storage there. And we think it would be an improvement to the neighborhood. We've submitted a plan and elevation of what it would look like, and right now there's some old, there was an old house on the property and some older buildings. We just think it would look a lot nicer for the entire community down that way if we could get this rezoned and build this.
Okay, have you read our staff report where we get, and so there's two technical evaluations there, and one is that we've asked that the sign be limited to one sign. Is that agreeable? Is that right?
Well, I believe so, sir. If it's a mini storage, it's not a problem. If it was office buildings, then we might need two signs for something, so we were wondering if that would be permissible, and we don't mind.
Okay. All right, so I think we've suggested that one ground monument sign, 100 square feet in area, no less than 25 square feet of landscaping, et cetera.
I have a question on that. If it is one sign, and say we were able to put some offices on there if we can't do a mini storage, does that one sign have to be for one business?
No.
Okay, well then we have no problem.
No, you can redo the sign and add several businesses. We just want one sign.
That's not a problem.
All right, and then the second one was we wanted we suggested to delete the use unit group residential.
That's perfectly
It's
fine.
boarding homes and things like that. Is that a problem?
We understand what it is now. We didn't at the time, apparently, so
All right.
not a problem.
All right. And then you've committed, I believe, to the design guidelines for mini storage unit. Commissioner Powers would ask you that if I did not. So I'll go ahead and get that out of the way for her. All right. Any commissioners, any questions, comments? Action on this one? Nobody's signed up.
Mike. Ernest, Rocky, when are you guys thinking that is the building still there?
There are
There's a couple of storage buildings there.
The large
little
structure?
garages, yeah.
Yeah, garage.
The large structure's already down?
Yes.
Okay. Amen, and I'll make a motion to approve this.
Motion and second to approve item number 7. Cast your votes. And that item is approved. Thank you, sir. Thank you both.
Thank you, sir.
Item 8 is C 6331. This is the final plat of 150 Penn in Ward 8.
Afternoon. Would you state your name? And
My name is Jason Emmon. I'm representing the developer, Maya Inn, Inc. The request is for approval on a final plat to create 3 commercial outparcels to be developed with retail, daycare center, and then 2 common areas, one being a drainage pond and then the other being a wetlands to be, I guess, given to the Corps. We have no issues with any of the comments from staff, and we can agree
Okay.
with everything.
Commissioners, any questions?
I have a question on your requesting a variance on the water and sewer.
Yeah, we actually, we don't have an issue taking the amenities to, or the utilities to lots 1, 2, and 3, but we were requesting the variance because to take the water and sewer to the detention pond or the wetlands, which neither one can ever be developed, was the reason we were asking for the variance.
So you're asking for a variance not to take water and sewer to where we don't need water and sewer?
Exactly, yes.
Right. As it was initially platted,
But I guess my question is, you're taking water and sewer to each individual lot. You're not using a common line to service.
Correct. Each individual lot will be served with water and sewer, but the reason for the variance was to not take it to the detention pond or the wetland.
Very good. Thank you.
any other questions, Commissioner? Nobody signed up. Janice?
I was just going to say that if it is limited in that way, I would want to be sure that the record reflects that, but
Right. And I think that's what the staff report's pretty clear on that. Nick, you got a motion?
I'd move variance TE3.
Motion is seconded to approve the variance T number 3. Cast your votes. Oh, that's approved.
I'd move the application. Second.
Motion is seconded to approve item number 8. Cast your votes, and that's approved. Thank you, sir.
Item 9 is PC 10298, an application by Danny and Mary Green to rezone 9620 Northeastern from R1 Single Family to R2 Medium Low Density Residential in Ward 7.
Is the applicant present? Anybody representing the Greens?
They're on their way. They're not here yet. You might want to put this one at the...
Okay, we have 2 people signed up for that, so if you would mind just waiting, we'll move that to the heel of the docket. And hey. Okay, we'll move item number 9 to the, later on in the list.
It's not going to be long.
Okay.
Item 10 is PC 10299, an application by 12301 South May LLC to rezone 12301 South May from AA Agricultural and Airport Environments to O2 General Office and Airport Environments in Ward 5.
Hi.
Hi, good afternoon. My name's Patricia Podolik, and I represent the 12301 South May LLC.
Okay.
And we're wanting to, the property currently is zoned agriculture. We want to change it to O2. There are some buildings which you can see on there currently, and that's our immediate concern, is to get that zoned. We don't have any immediate plans to develop the rest of the property.
Okay. This little bit of land that we have up here.
Yes.
That's tell us a little bit about that.
That's an easement, an ingress and egress easement to the ballpark, so it's not going to be developed anyway. I'm not really sure why it's attached to this property, but it is. But it is an easement.
Do we need it attached to this piece to this particular, the subject side?
It's part of the deed. It's part of the property. It's on the deed.
So you want it all, what you've been granted, you want it all to be zoned
But
consistent with...
we can't do anything with the easement anyway, so it's not going to be, nothing's going to be built on top of the easement.
Okay, I understand now. It just seemed a little odd.
Yeah.
As you
It does.
look at it. I'm sure it did to you, too, when you got to buy
I'm sure
it.
there's some story behind it, but I don't know what it is.
Understand. Commissioners, nobody signed up. Any questions from the applicant?
The building that's currently there, actually, I lived across the street for about 3 years at 12500 Crick Hollow Court. So I looked out my son's window at this property. He actually went to daycare at the church for a while. Nice. I'm ready for it to be something else to be done with it. Foshinyafi used it for parking. It's full a lot of times when I travel down South May, and so, but I don't know what activity's gone on. They haven't had church services there in a while.
That's correct.
And so I think this will be a positive change in this area, and I'll move for approval.
I got a question on this piece of property. Should that not be submitted as an easement with access?
Evidently, there's already an easement there.
Well, if it is an easement, I don't quite understand. We're okay with that as far as access to those properties, the ballpark and zone? So we're okay with that from a legal standpoint?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I think the easement provides takes care of the access. It sounds like that's what it's for,
Yes, it
is
is.
to provide access. These ball fields are the piece back to the west, and then they come in off this road from the east, and then access to ball fields in that way. Is that right?
That's correct.
So we don't know whether or not it is a dedicated public easement.
I don't know.
And that would only be significant if the public were being asked to maintain it. Is that right?
JJ might.
It's just a private easement between the two parties for access to the ball fields.
So it is a recorded easement.
Don't know. Don't guess it affects us.
It's just an easement.
Yeah.
It's just a road that goes back to the ballpark.
Okay. All right. That being said, we have a motion to approve and a second. Cast your votes on that. You approve. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Item 11 has been continued.
Wait. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just a regular
Okay.
question.
Never mind. Thank you.
Item 11 has been continued until February the 23rd. Item 12 is C-6329, which is the final plat of Regency Point in Ward 8.
Good afternoon. I'm Kendall Dillon with Crafts and Toll, representing the applicant, and this is another final plat of the Regency Point addition. We are in agreement with all the TEs. I would say, though, we would ask that TE number 3 and TE number 4 be deleted. Those are pertaining to the street stub to the west, and we've been working with the Ironstone folks to the west to try to figure out exactly where that street stub is going to be. My original intention was to ask for the variance, but we now have a resolution. I think you all received a letter from them a couple days ago, so that the street stub now will be provided at Northwest 158th Terrace and not Northwest 159th Terrace. There's some topographic constraints that keep us from connecting on where the approved Ironstone preliminary plat is. So through the coordination with them, they've been very cordial working with us, and so that's kind of what we've got resolved.
Okay, so now I understand, Kendall, I was given a map before the meeting that you're going to do the stub down, it looks like 158th Terrace. Is that right?
That's correct.
And that's going to be, that go to the west?
It goes west from our plat into Ironstone, yes.
Okay. All right. Now, we did get this letter. It says that there's something about conditions with respect of any future plats with Ironstone. You know we can't agree to that.
And the intent was obviously they have an approved preliminary plat that shows a street stub from Northwest 159th into Regency Point. I physically cannot make that connection from Regency Point without some improvements over on their side, which they were unwilling to do. So through that, we have agreed, both parties, that we'll make that connection because they still want the connection. I originally was just going to ask for a variance, thus TE number 3.
Right.
But since then, we've come to a resolution between the two parties that we'll provide that stub at Northwest 158th Terrace. What they want to make certain happens is that by them agreeing to do it, now there's a variation from their approved preliminary plat. So they just want to make certain that by them moving that street stub, that it doesn't affect them from developing their preliminary plat as previously approved. Make sense?
Yeah, I think I get it.
Right.
I think I get it. But that does not necessarily mean there may not, other things that we bring up with respect to that plat.
Exactly. Just the sensitivity of a change to the Ironstone preliminary plat. And
Kendall, help me with this. First of all, you say agreement of the parties. Are the parties Ironstone and your developer?
Yes.
Or are the parties Ironstone, your developer, and Regency Point homeowners?
No. The two parties are this applicant and the Ironstone developer.
Why I raise that point is if you all will recall, when we went through all the hoopla with Ironstone, we concluded that the stub between the Regency Point people did not want this stub. We concluded the stub was not necessary because, for public safety, because there was a second way out of Regency to the south into Esperanza and going that way. Now we see this deal that we need a variance because of the quarter section connectivity deal, not public safety. And I'm reluctant to put this stub in there after we made a deal, if you will, with the Regency people that it could come out. The preliminary plat for Ironstone was approved with their stub there because that's all they could do. But I'm not sure that stub is necessary, and frankly, I'd be more in favor of granting the variance and leaving things the way they are.
I'm not sure I understand your point, your suggestion, Nick. I get it, I think, to an extent, given the history that we've had with these particular additions, shall we say, developments.
My concern, Mike, is the question I asked initially, who are the parties?
Right.
And Kendall said, well, it's my developer and the developers of Ironstone.
Right.
They have not brought their own homeowners association into this.
Did they get notice of this hearing today?
They did, however, you know, we, on this particular plat, did not show the street stub.
I think that's a good point. They were very strongly protested this stub before, and I would agree. I wouldn't want to.
And the conclusion was made that
we didn't need it.
It wasn't needed from a public safety standpoint. Now, obviously, it is needed to comply with the quarter section connectivity, but the flip side of that argument was, if you'll recall, Regency is private streets. All Regency has to do is put up a gate, and they block it anyway. So there is no quarter section connectivity.
Kendall, you want to go ask them if they like it any better now?
I'm in a weird position right now.
Yeah, go ahead. You answer this one.
Well, obviously, there was not a street stub done with this final plat because of that reason, originally, and the prior history of Ironstone. Obviously, it is part of your subdivision regulations, and given the nature and the way that the Ironstone progressed, since there was originally a requirement of the preliminary plat of Regency to make a street stub to the west, and since they have an approved preliminary plat that has one, I thought the thing to do would be to approach them to see if they were in agreement with deleting the street stub. They are fairly adamant about not wanting to delete the street stub. They, on their behalf, want a street stub. So what
Ironstone does.
Ironstone preliminary plat.
Right.
So what we've tried to do is just say, okay, we're trying our best to accommodate you. We'd prefer not to have it, but we understand your concern. So let's work together on, I can't connect to Northwest 159th, so I have an agreement with them to go ahead and to provide that street stub and to provide it to Northwest 158th Street. Now, I have not, or we have not contacted the homeowner association about that. We just went ahead and made that agreement with them on our behalf to provide the street connection. I'm a little bit in a tough spot because I would hate to necessarily just be granted a variance because of my word and my agreement with them without giving them a little, if you understand what I'm saying. But I'm also in a pickle because I need to move ahead. So if we are going to consider the variance, what I'd like to do is at least bump it to the end of the docket and be able to make a phone call or two. Well, to see if we can take a continuance.
Hate to break this news to you, Ken.
I know, I got
you're the end of the
time to step out for one.
You are the end of the docket.
Would a 2-week continuance kill you?
That's what I'd like to make the call about. Isn't there one more?
Well, we'll probably let these folks speak on item number 9 since they've taken an obvious
If we could
time
do
to show
that,
up.
and then let me see whether or not we can, a 2-week continuance.
Why don't you do that, and we'll allow these persons in the back, I think, that are here on item number 9. I'm not going to ask them to come back in 2 weeks in case we continue that one, okay?
All right.
All right, thanks, Kendall. We'll set this aside while Mr. Dillon makes his call. And I think the last item we have for public hearing is item number 9. Is the applicant present on number 9? I don't think so. Well, wait a minute. Let me just take an opportunity to, are you Mr. Hill or Mr. Klassen, are you here too? The applicant is not present today. Historically, we would continue that for 2 weeks to allow them time to present their application. I appreciate the efforts that you've made to attend today. We'd be happy, I think, to listen to your comments on this matter. And then if you'd like to come back in 2 weeks if we decide to continue, you're welcome to come back. But if you are unable to, I think that would be reasonable. Is that okay? Whichever, I mean, 4 kids, it's not easy getting out. All right. Ms. Klassen, would you then come up, please? We didn't call the case, I guess. Okay, we did earlier. Okay, please come up.
Absolutely.
Could you state your name and your address, please?
Sure. My name is Sherston Clausen. I live at 2100 Northeast 96th Street. We're just a couple doors down from the proposed rezoning. I've spoken with several of the neighbors, actually 3 out of the other 4 neighbors on this street, the homes that are lived in at this point. And we mostly wanted to find out the reason for the rezoning. Is the desire to put a mother-in-law plan here, or is it just a rental duplex property? None of the neighbors are in favor of this rezoning. If it is for the purpose of a rental, if it is for the purpose of a mother-in-law plan taking care of a family or something, all of us were fine with that, the 3 neighbors that I've spoken with. But we just wanted to have a better understanding first of what the intent is behind this property. We are concerned, obviously, about home values decreasing if it's a rental property, and also quite concerned, it's the smallest lot in this area, and very busy street right there, so it doesn't even make sense to me that they would put a rental property right there as far as that. So that was the main question that I had, and our thoughts about the rezoning.
So just to be clear, ma'am, you live east of
Yes.
Eastern on 96th.
I live east, actually it's, the vacant lot is the 3rd house over on the same side, on the south side of the street. It's the...
Oh, okay, I see. All right. I understand that they're proposing some sort of family use, two parts of the same family living in the duplex. You do understand, however, that once it's zoned for that particular use, just so you can't restrict it to just being a family. If they sell it later to third parties, then that would be obviously it goes with the land. Let me put it that way.
Sure. Well, I guess in that sense, then I would want to oppose it, but perhaps there's a way that it could be designed so that
Okay.
Mr. Greens.
All right.
Perhaps maybe they could.
Yeah, if they give us a little bit more information. Ms. Green, did you just come in? Would you come up, please, to right there to that podium? we've called your application, so would you state your name and your address and tell us about your application, please?
Yes, I'm Mary Christine Green, and the address is there at 96th and Eastern.
Okay. Tell us about what your intentions are, if you could.
Okay, we'd like to build one duplex, and it's going to be a very nice duplex, rock and brick, and 3 bedrooms, 2 baths on both sides, 2-car garages, and would like to be able to do that so our son can live in one side as well.
Okay. Do you currently reside there?
No, we do not. That's a vacant lot at this point in time.
Okay, and so you bought it, or
Yes.
You're in the process of?
We bought it, and honestly, when we bought it, the realtor told us that we could put a duplex there. And then after we bought it, we found out that she wasn't correct. So that was the problem.
And what are you planning on doing about sewer?
We can put in a septic. So, and the city also said they might bring it there, but it's not there right now. So that would be something that if we couldn't, then they would look at allowing us to have the city bring sewer. But right now, the plan would have to be to have septic, just because I think it's on the corner up there, but it's not down that far.
And water, you're going to hook up to the city water?
Yes.
So let me be clear. So you bought the property and you want to build a duplex for your son and?
Yes, and then I actually have 2 sons, and so they would each live on one side.
So each one will be on one side, one on the other side?
Yes.
When I looked at this, I was looking at it in the context of the total neighborhood.
Yes.
And really just looking at the size of the lots and the makeup of the community. And I just really couldn't determine, I really didn't feel like it was compatible with what's been developed there and the context of that neighborhood. There's not public sewer that can be hooked up. I think it's a half a mile away or something. And it really just doesn't appear to be compatible with the rest of the development that has taken place there. So I had that's why I wanted to know exactly what was going to be done, because once we zone this, and I know it's your intention, and that's great, but once it's zoned, it goes with the property, and then it becomes a duplex, rental, or whatever. And it's just not in the character that.
Well, in the duplex that we even have designed, it almost looks like a house as much or more than a duplex. You can hardly even tell that it would be a duplex instead of a house, but it would also give them, there is a lot of area then behind so that they could have an outside building, which is, several in the neighborhood have that. And so you can only have, you do have to get out a little bit to be able to have, some building area and some things like that, which this would offer for them.
And I can appreciate the aesthetics of how you gonna make it look like one property, but the zoning is still concerning with the land, the use of the land, and it'll still be a duplex setting that's in a traditional neighborhood that's got acreage, and it's more of a rural setting, and to me it's just not compatible, not only with our plan, but even with the existing neighborhood.
If I understand correctly, you are not going to live there. Your 2 sons are going to both live there, in one at each side.
Correct.
With their, I don't know if they're married, if they're single, if they have families. What's the situation there?
One son has a girlfriend and the other one is not married.
Why can't you build a single-family home and these 2 brothers share the house?
Well, yeah, they just are of an age that, in their 20s, that's just how we had designed it, so that they could work back there. They'd have a building at the back, and they'd be able to work back there, and then they'd have the house. One of them
Well, but then one of them gets married and moves away, and we have to do something with the other side of the duplex. And Mr. Williams' concerns, now we've got a rental property sitting here totally out of character with the neighborhood, is what I'm seeing.
I personally am less concerned whether it's a rental or not. I mean, I'm sure there's other rentals in the neighborhood.
Well, but
in
it's
the
a
area.
duplex, that's my
But
duplex.
the point I agree with, though, is clearly, and I drove this road, I actually drive it fairly regularly. I drove it Tuesday, and from 50th all the way to the Kilpatrick, it's all very large lot, single family, residential, and large acreage homes. And I just don't know that a duplex use, especially sitting on a corner, is compatible with this neighborhood in this area, regardless rental or otherwise, doesn't really matter to me. It's the thought of a down or up zoning this, increasing the density in this particular area. We talk about this quite a bit. I just don't think I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think it's a good trend to set, because I did see some nicer development, some very nice development, big R1 area going up out there too. So,
And also with our urban growth, we're still trying to promote urban growth where we have the utilities already in place.
Right.
That's
right,
one
Jeff.
thing what we're really trying to accomplish. Not only do it has not a fit, but it has some other technical things. So I really couldn't support it in the nature of the way it's been submitted.
Right. There's Mr. Hill. We're trending in your direction, probably. I'm happy to have you come up and speak if you'd like. Okay, come on up. If you could, Ms. Green, if you could let Mr. Hill speak, please. Thank you.
Timothy Hill. I live at 2200 Northeast 96th Street, which is the last, it's not actually showing up on that.
Okay.
Well, and I'm the last house on the right before you come to Roselle Street.
All right.
I've got 18 acres there, so I've got big acreage. I just agree with your comments have been made. It doesn't fit our neighborhood. Our neighborhood's a single home, large acreage neighborhood, and putting a duplex and a rent, I don't care if it's rental or not either, but a duplex on a small piece of land and a corner lot sets bad precedents and opens up a can of worms.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Okay.
Appreciate you coming down and giving us your suggestions and opinions. Commissioners, any questions or further comments? Ms. Green, if there's anything else you'd like to offer, I don't know what it would be, but we're happy to.
Mike, I always struggle with these because I know they've been dealt a bad hand because of what they were told, but I do side with you, apparently I do, because I just don't think a duplex is going to fit, regardless of whether it's rented or owned by as a primary residence. It's just tough for me. I know you can design a house to make it look like it's not a duplex. I'm very familiar with that, but I just, I feel your pain in some sense, but on the other side, I can't, for me personally, I can't allow that to just override what our responsibility is as a planning commission. And does this particular piece of property, should it be rezoned, for that? We're looking at the land use. Like Nick and Mike said, if it's rental, that doesn't have anything to do with me. These people behind you that are protesting this could keep their houses and could rent them out. And that's really irrelevant. But it'd be difficult for me to vote in a positive manner for this to be rezoned.
I agree.
So it's because of like the way it would look, or I guess I'm not understanding.
No,
would be because
it's not that at all. Design is not my concern, or I'll speak for myself. I don't think it's any of the commissioners' concern about whether you design a nice duplex that looks like a single residence or not. It's the fact that the nature and character of, one, this property is rezoned single-family residential to start with. So you're asking for an increase in density with respect to its underlying zoning. So that's one consideration. Secondly, the character and the nature of this neighborhood and this whole strip is not that does not have that density. In other words, it's zoned R1. If I look at my map just below this, I find some AA, or agricultural zoning. They're all large lot, single-family residences in this area, and we're reluctant, very reluctant, to interject increased density, i.e. duplex zoning, into an area that's otherwise single-family residential or agricultural. And even if it were, I'd have a problem just because of the way the area is developing and has developed over a long period of time. These are well-established homes out there, James. You're well familiar with this. That area that's old line single-family, and I don't think it's appropriate to interject additional density into this area at this time.
Okay. In a duplex, duplexes would, you feel like, be a hindrance to?
Right. It's out of character with the neighborhood, and duplexes are, again, it may not be intuitive to you, but to us, it's an increase in density versus the underlying zoning, and I don't think we're being asked to rezone this particular piece of land, and personally, I can't agree to that.
Okay. Because there are areas of town that there are pockets of a duplex or a group of duplexes or something like that with houses all around it.
We would agree with that.
Okay.
We agree, but that's not in character and in keeping with this particular area. So,
okay. And then there's a little bit of commercial already there. But
right.
Does that have any bearing on weather?
Not particularly.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Green? Any action on this, Commissioners?
I move that we deny the application as submitted.
Motion and a second to deny item number 9. Cast your votes. And that is denied. Thank you for coming down.
We'll go back to item 12C, 6329.
Again, for the record, Kendall Dillon with Crafton Toll, and we will take a 2-week deferral.
Okay. Applicant has suggested that we defer item 12 for 2 weeks. Motion?
Make a motion that we continue this item for 2 weeks.
Motion is second to defer item 12 for 2 weeks. Cast your votes, and that item is deferred.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kendall.
And Kendall, get with the neighborhood, and they're well organized, obviously. We've heard from them before, so.
Hey, is this me? Communication, any additional items? Planning Commission committees? Commission members? Planning Department, Russell?
I want to thank yourself and James and Buck for being at the inaugural meeting of the Citizens Advisory Team.
Welcome.
And I think it went well. General consensus?
No, I think it went very well, and I think that is a very diverse group. I was impressed with the range of people that were at the meeting, their backgrounds, and I think it'll be an interesting process. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we tried hard to accomplish that. So.
Yeah. So it'll be a process, but I thought it was a well-run meeting. Commissioner Yokel was also attended, and it was. I think we had 3 to 4 councilmen.
4 councilmen. All the councilmen were there. We had 4 members missing, but that was pretty good, really.
Yeah, good attendance.
And the next meeting's on the 26th, I think.
24th.
Was it 24th?
Friday the 24th.
Oh, 24th. That's a Friday?
26th is Sunday, I think.
All right.
I think. I just better check my calendar.
I think the next one was March 9th, but communications will go out about that. So.
Right.
The next one will be a little more interactive.
Okay.
And I believe we have, I mentioned last time, we have a couple of study sessions coming up regarding the CIP, so be notified about that as well.
All right. Development Services? Municipal Counselor? Citizens be heard? Any other business? Motion to adjourn? All right, we're adjourned. Passed.